Hello, many thanks everyone for tuning in and staying with us on Meet the Discourse as we take a look at developing stories across the country. Just in Edo 2024, ahead of the elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission has begun the distribution of the elections materials. These are the bid, very sensitive materials ahead of the 18 local government areas of the state. The distribution is ongoing at the premises of the Central Bank of Nigeria on Okpafava Junction, located at Ring Road, Benin. The development has created a gridlock in areas as traffic is only open to one lane on the busy road. The hired vehicles that will convey the materials to various locations are already stationed beside the CBN. The area have been closed for commercial activities as buses piled one way to enter and exit the area. Also, many observers, international observers, media houses are all there in Edo, Benin City, precisely to monitor the situation. I try to find meaning to all of these discussions and tracking some of the factors that may determine the Saturday's poll. I'm being joined by Adamola, a legal practitioner and a political analyst. Thanks so much for joining us on the Midday Discuss. A whole lot is actually happening in the door. We've seen the blaming issues, People's Democratic Party calling on INEC. Just yesterday, the Labour Party ended their campaign, and Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of Labour Party, called on the INEC and the security agencies to give a level playing ground. All of this is a concern of the people. Are you bothered about the call? Are you seeing any suspicious movement by either the INEC or the security agencies?
I'm actually...
Media Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues,
peace and progress of Nigeria. Because Edo State is one of the oil-producing states of the Federation. It's a Niger Delta state. And going by what is circulating in the media, both printed, electronic, and social media of recent about the Edo election, it calls for concern, it calls for worry by any discerning Nigerian, especially when you look at the issue of peace accord that broke down. None was ever signed. PDP is said to have, the governor is credited to have said, I didn't hear him say so, that the election is do or die affair. So, and ordinarily in Nigerian political issues, the context like this, it had always been between two major leading political parties, the APC and the PDP. And since 2023, with the coming into the race by the leader of the Obedient, Gregory Peter Obi of the Labour Party, who was also part of the gubernatorial campaign in Edo State for Olumide Akpata, who is the Labour Party's candidate of this coming election, one could see that the election is really going to be very, very tight. And if it is actually made to be a do or die affair, then it calls to question the issue of security and how prepared are our security agencies, the Nigerian police force, the civil defense, and even the military. So it calls for concern.
Absolutely. A whole lot of development right there. We've also seen many reactions by stakeholders ahead of the elections. There have been a whole lot of security threats and calls by different political parties ahead of the September 24th election. We're looking at that and more deeply into the factors that may shape the Saturday poll. You stay with us on the program. We'll be right back. How many thanks everyone for still stay with us amid the discuss development in Edo election has INEC on the top gear in terms of preparations, distributions of material are quite ongoing, and the stress called by even the civil society organizations in Edo State is a concern about the issues of insecurity. Mr. Damola, there have been high concern about insecurity because it looks that there are a lot of threats. These other parties saying, do or die affair. These other parties saying, people who want to take advantage of the situation from federal might. Some person saying, power of incumbency and all of that. How do a common Edo person who probably is seeing all of this development, the thoughts on their mind in terms of participating in the September Saturday's election?
If one is familiar with the views has been expressed by various groups of Edo, the people from Edo North, the people from Edo South, and the Edo Central, the Benin, has been expressed in different media. One would definitely know that this election, this Edo election, is not determinable on the face value, because there are many things that are playing to influence what will be the outcome of the election. Let's look at it. The three major political, there are about 17 political parties participating. Yeah. But there are three major political parties that are pronounced. And these three are not I'm not mentioning them in the order of their popularity within the state. We have the Alliance Action APC, All Progressive Congress. Right. Then we have the People's Democratic Party. Yeah. And then we have the Labour Party. There are many things that are influencing that will influence the voters in this Edo election. One of such things is the performance of the All Progressive Congress at the federal level. Another thing that will also influence the outcome of this election is the performance of the People's Democratic Party.
Who are those in office today and the government house today?
Who are on ground in Edo State. Has the party been able to satisfy the yearning? What is the rating of Governor Obaseki? And then, what is the influence of Labour Party, let me say, Greenhorn, Olumide Apata, former MBA president, who just called me under the Labour Party. How did they perform in the last presidential election? Of course, Labour Party had a very strong outing in Edo State. So all these three things put together, if one begins to analyze the views that are being expressed, to me, the review Obaseki is getting in those who have assessed Obaseki from Edo is not positive in any way. People are almost always commenting about infrastructural decay and plenty MOU signed, no execution, and so on and so forth. There are no positive review. And then that will have a toll on the PDP. Also, in the federal level, the current assessment of economy by an average Nigerian, especially judging by the fuel price and and prices of goods, is not favorable to the APC. But one will ordinarily now think that Labour Party should have an advantage. But I don't think so, because there are unspoken war between the majority of the Labour Party supporters, who are usually termed the Southeasterners, and the Edo people, when it comes to this issue of Biafra or no Biafra, when certain leaders of IPOP were accused of claiming that Edo is a part of Biafra, is part of IPOP, and you will hear many Edo citizens, many Edo indigenes, condemning Labour Party on the basis of that, and that issue also will also affect the outcome of the election negatively against the Labour Party. So as it stands now, one cannot say, but what we just hope for is a free and fair election, and as it is done in every democracy, let the wishes of the majority prevail.
All right. When the People's Democratic Party denied participating in the peace accord, as at last week, we're trying to find some level of understanding about the importance of that. I mean, it has always been a normal election ritual. How important is peace accord? Because we've also seen instances where candidate participates in peace accord, but in terms of obeying the agreement in level of violence displayed by supporters, it's always the opposite side.
The peace accord that is usually signed pre-elections in Nigeria is not a contract per se. How binding is it? But it has some psychological effects on the major players in every election. At least such a major player, maybe a candidate and their political parties, they will have a sense of duty, at least to be able to call their followers to order. It is not that it has a legally enforceable consequence. It's not a contract per se, but it has, as I said, it has psychological effect. So that is why the Edo situation is very, very worrisome. So when those who are supposed to be the leaders of parties and the political leaders of parties and candidates come out publicly and say this election is do or die and we are not ready to sign any peace accord, it's a very strong signal to law enforcement agencies to strengthen their guards and make sure that peaceful election is conducted. They should be ready to confront anybody who is perpetrating violence and who is ready to disrupt the election.
A whole lot of push and blame, and sometimes fingers have been pointed at some quarters. We've seen the Chief of Army Staff just yesterday dismissing the idea that the president is backing the APC candidate. We understand the fact that there is some fear of the People's Democratic Party and Labour Party about federal might. Talk to us about federal might in Nigeria's politics. Talk to us about how we can probably dismiss the intentions of the presidency in this election, owing to the fact that the outcome probably may determine how true the statement was.
It has always been said that we are all political animals. The provision of the Constitution is that the commission, the Electoral Commission, the National Independent Electoral Commission should consist of people of proven integrity, who are apolitical, who have no political affiliation, so as to ensure free and fair election. But when the member of the commission will be appointed by the president, how apolitical could such members of the commission be? So there has always been a justifiable reason for anybody to suspect the fairness of our electoral body because of the process of constituting the members. So I'm not confirming the fear of PDP to be true or not, for them to come out to say that they may have what they have seen, or they may also be playing what we call a mind game with respect to the election. But while that one was going on from the PDP accusing the presidency of supporting a political party through the INEC, which fear one may not dismiss because of the process of constituting the INEC, as we have said, by the president, I also read this afternoon that Alliance for the APC, All Progressive Congress too, they have just written a letter to INEC accusing 3 key officers of INEC in Edo State of compromise. That the head of operation in Edo State has compromised with some ICT staff of INEC from headquarters, that they have been camped in one hotel that belonging to the PDP campaign. I've forgotten the name of that office. The head of the PDP campaign team owns a hotel where these people are alleged to have been lodged. So there will definitely be accusations and counter-accusations from PDP to APC, from APC to Labour Party, and vice versa. It is expected because definitely it's obvious that all of them are desperate for this election, and it's a very decisive election.
There are factors. Other factors includes the capacity of the candidate we have in this election. I mean, you can probably say the People's Democratic Party, as well, Igadalo will tell you, I'm a lawyer. I have the credentials. I've been in the economic team of this government, trying to, see how we can negotiate better things for the people of Edo. You go to the Labour Party. The Labour Party will tell you, I've been the NBA president. I think that is your association. I've also understood what it means to manage the complexity capacity of development, getting some international foreign investors back to your state. Then people will now go to that of APC. They will tell you he's a businessman, he's a senator. Probably the people believed in him to have elected him to be in the Senate. So capacity of candidate away from the political parties has also has also drawn a lot of concerns and generated competition. Talk to us about how you probably may understand about the candidacy away from the parties.
Being a political, while commenting on this issue, for anybody in Nigeria of today to rise up to become a gubernatorial candidate of a major political parties in Nigeria, that person privately is a success. That person privately is a success. And judging by past elections, so when somebody say PDP candidate is this, is that, they are trying to challenge his capability or qualification, I dismiss it as nonsense. When somebody attacks the APC candidate, they are questioning his ability to do this or do that, I also dismiss it as nonsense. Because these are three major political parties we have in this country. And for an individual to have done well for himself to rise to a position that is presented as a candidate, that person is qualified. As you review them, one has been a successful, both two have been a successful legal practitioner, and one other has been a successful business person. It then now boils down to the people of Edo State. What are going to be their considerations in voting for candidate A, B, C, D, or E? So it is now left for the people, good people of Edo, to say, based on the antecedent of this particular individual, because I will always want to emphasize the achievement and disposition of individual rather than political parties. Because we have seen in this country that political parties are toothless bulldog who can only bark, they cannot bite. Those who hold political authority in terms of governors, the president, or even elected members of House of Assembly or National Assembly are the ones who decide what political parties leadership do. They are the ones who decide what political party leadership do. I will enjoin any Nigerian who wants to vote to look critically at the personality and personal achievement of the individual candidates rather than political parties. Because political
but is it achievable? Is it
achievable?
Is it achievable by going by that notion?
That is what it should be. Okay, let's look at it.
The practice
let's look at it. Labour Party had produced governors in this country.
They now have
Olusegun Mimiko was a governor under Labour Party. That's one of those things when I say, when people say
Alex Otti,
it's not the first governor. Olusegun Mimiko was all that Labour Party, the obedient brought Labour Party to limelight. No. Labour Party had produced House of Rep, they have produced senators, they have produced governor before 2023. PDP had done so, they had been in charge of Nigeria. APC had been in charge of Nigeria for good 8 years. How much of influence do we see political party exerting on the elected official? Rather, a party chairman will rather go camp in hand to the president, or in the state, party chairman will go to the governor to be soliciting for contracts, to be soliciting for appointment for his cronies, and so on and so forth. Parties in Nigeria are not based on ideologies. They are based, the performance of every government is dependent on how good, how committed, how patriotic, how honest the individuality of the candidate are, not based on political party. If you look at our party manifestos and constitution, they are all the same. They are all the same. And when they get into office, they don't even look at their party's manifesto. They think of what they want to do extemporaneously by themselves. So the people, good people of Edo, should look at which particular candidate will serve the best interests of Edo people. And that's who they should vote for.
I mean, in 2023, the rise of obedient movement was so strong in Edo that, I mean, they had a senator right now representing one of the senatorial districts in the National Assembly. And there are sentiment that the fact that the PDP does not have a senator as we speak now, out of the 3 senatorial districts in Edo, APC has 2 senatorial districts, while Labour Party has 1. So the consideration of the fact that obedient movement is another factor we must begin to look at very critically. One, We saw in 2023 how they were so strong that even if the governorship election was conducted in Edo as at the time of 2023 election, we probably are afraid that something different would have occurred in Edo State. Do you feel that due to the fact that some of them are feeling disappointed by the outcome of the 2023 election, they might not have this way
they will have apathy to vote for Labour Party?
Absolutely.
I don't think so. The only reason that I think
But those that will tell you that 2023 was just about Obi, and now that we are done with Obi conversation, that I think Labour Party do not really matters.
The issue will I use the term tribalism, is also playing out in Edo election. The people of Edo South, I guess, where Olumide Akpata came from, then the people of Asian too. There's this is our own contest that is still going on. So that goes beyond political party. There's this, as I earlier on mentioned, there's this unsung war, unspoken about war between Edo and the majority of people who associate Labour Party with Peter Obi. There are a lot of people from Edo who had voted for Peter Obi in 2023, who, if he comes out tomorrow, they will not vote for him for one reason or the other. All this one too, as I said, are the things that will affect the fortunes of Labour Party in Edo State. And as for PDP, one of those things that will affect the fortune of PDP, as I said earlier on, you remember the majority of Edo people, they idolize their royalty. The Oba of Benin, Oba Tokpeye, the present administration of PDP in Edo State, who took the Oba of Benin to court because of the repatriated artifacts, has actually also painted PDP in a very bad light. And then, going by the outcome of the economic reform embarked on by the federal government under the APC, that one too is not in favor of APC. So I think the major concern now, the major thing that we play a significant, that will have a significant effect on the election is actually the senatorial district and their interest, not actually political party. Because I think PDP in Edo cannot come boldly and condemn the APC federal in terms of performance. But people are still loyal to their political party. People who are loyal to APC, they don't care what federal government reform is having on them. They would rather die voting for APC rather than vote for PDP. And there are some people who are very, very loyal to PDP too, because it's a question of structure. PDP structure in Edo is still very strong. APC structure in Edo is still very strong. And then here comes the Labour Party, who is just coming up. So to me, it is not predictable, except you consult IFA. The IFA Orepu. So by calculation,
absolutely,
it is very, very difficult to predict.
It's a very big task ahead of the Edo elections. We're trying to also find meaning to how the outcome possibly may be in terms of the participation of the people. The intimidation has also been a consideration, and now the Chief of Army Staff has reiterated the commitment of the security agencies that they are not going to be biased about doing their professional job, and that the presidency do not have a hand in that election. So there are also factors.
Of police too was accused.
Yeah, you've seen IG of police was also accused that they were moved to, our national security advisor was also accused by the People's Democratic Party chairman when he said so. And NSA was making a move to slam
While I don't dismiss all those accusations, they may as well be mind games.
So
PDP is playing it against the APC, who has the federal might. And the same APC now wrote INEC too, that 3 staff of INEC had been compromised by the governor. So I guess both of them are playing a mind game.
How do we pay attention to the fact that Commissioner of Police
I would want a situation when our institution will be stronger in their process of composition. As lawyers, we are complaining now that the method of appointing judges and the power of the CJN controlling all the judicial institutions is too much. We are also complaining about INEC too, that the appointment by the presidency should be taken away from it. Let the institution be self-regulating, and then the leadership will be appointing. All these things will enhance trust of Nigerians in our institutions. But once once INEC is being doubted, the integrity of our electoral process is very, very weak.
I mean, do you feel that the future outcome of elections have also warranted these allegations? Because we've seen the 2020 election in Edo. There were no allegations of federal might, even when, Obaseki had to move from APC to PDP. So there were no outcry recently being witnessed. So these are the concern about how the institutions can there are some information they have gathered enough to be able to make such allegations.
The circumstances of 2020 is definitely very, very different from what we have now. What we have now, there is clear desperation, if not all the three major political parties, at least between the two leading political parties, that is the APC and PDP. And I think that is what is giving rise to this fear, this allegation, this accusation and counter accusations. It is because of the desperation and because of uncertainty of what the outcome will be, what the verdict of the Edo people will be. I think that is what is responsible for the accusation and counter accusation.
All right, just as we begin to wrap up, we'll consider the fact that they said the rec was also brought to consideration right here. We're trying to find a meaning to that. Some accusation is that he is a cousin and a brother to the former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. There have also been pointed fingers at that. And Nyesom Wike had confirmed that in an interview. He also said probably he don't have a hand in that election, but in a way, I'm not backing the PDP. So some of these are what are the fears of opposition.
Politics is a very dirty game. It's a very dirty game. And honestly, without an intention to be insultive to our politicians, it can only be played by pigs. It can only be played by pigs. So the resident electoral commission in Edo State is said to be a cousin, not a brother to Governor, His Excellency, former Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State. But if one want to answer that question now, one will also remind the person making the accusation, but the Wike is a big stalwart of PDP. But you can see how dirty politics is. Wike is a big stalwart of PDP. He was a friend to Obaseki. Now, he is dining and whining while in PDP with APC. But I don't think the REC, being a cousin to Wike, should give anybody concern. He is acting in his own capacity as a public official, acting or working for National Independent Electoral Commission. I don't entertain such fear because my stake in Edo is national. It's not personal interest.
All right, everyone, and that's where we'll wrap it up on that first segment of the conversation about the Edo 2024. There have been a recent fear and panic among the citizens and indigents of the Federal Capital Territory due to the recent FCT tremors. These has also triggered reactions and concern and panic where the residents are probably appealing to evacuate from the scene. But the minister assured, Delaleke has assured residents of the Pape community not to be panicked about the situation. Shortly after this, we'll be finding some level of understanding about that issue. To stay with us. Thanks for sister with us on the Discourse, trying to find and track developments regarding the recent trauma in Pape community where their level of concern and fears and panic among the residents of the community, their level of conversation about it, one way or the other, the residents are feared because of the issues of some mining activities probably that have been fingered in that situation. Mr. Damola, you probably may have read this report. There are a lot of panic, and for the first time, I think where we can really experience it after a longer time, tremor has also been a threat to the people of Pape community. How do you feel? Is it because of the overcrowding? What are the conditions you feel right there?
Yes, I am not a professional when it comes to geology. I'm not a geologist, but at least as a citizen, one tries to keep abreast of what is happening around us. I live in within Buhari Area Council. Pape is under Buhari Area Council.
Absolutely.
And then there are many mining activities going on within the axis because there are many rocks that are being exploited by quarry owners. They make stone dust, they make some other product from it. And from time to time, they do blast this rock for them to carry on their... And I strongly believe that this blasting they do, they must comply with certain rules and regulations put in place by the Federal Ministry of Mines and then the environmental regulation too by FCT Secretariat, relevant Secretariat. I didn't, my own house is very close to one of the quarry sites. And every time they blast, we always have this artificial vibration that are very, very strong. And it is our understanding that we are safe because the ministries that are regulating these activities, they have recommended certain, because there are many methods, or there are many system of this blast they do. I believe the government of Nigeria will have recommended the safest one, both for the explorers and for the people who live close by. Having said that, the tremor that Abuja experienced, my joy is that the relevant agency of the FCT administration, especially Abuja Environmental Emergency Response Team, I read this morning that they have constituted a panel, first to educate Nigerians on what to do when next this thing happens, how to evacuate and the rest. They have set up that committee, and I applaud the FCT minister for that. And then the reason for the tremor was given to be friction by at the rock lines. As I said, I don't know this terminology. And that the level of the tremor is very, very minimal. And there is nothing to...
With low intensity.
So it is of very, very low intensity. So it is no cause for alarm that we should be at peace with ourselves. But notwithstanding that, they have put, according to them, a committee in place to start working on it. And I applaud them for that. I applaud them for that. But they should, and then I also read that they have given order that all this blasting of rocks should be put on hold for the time being. And we just hope that most of these people who are...
It's an illegal activities anyways.
I don't think they are illegal activities because close to my house, we have a Turkish quarry owned by Turkish people. They cannot just come to Nigeria and be operating in the open. They are there in Tipa Garage in Duse. And we also have a famous Chinese quarry. It's owned by Chinese people. I don't think such big companies should be operating illegally. I'm not saying I don't know whether they are cutting corners or not, but I know that their operations are in the open and they must be paying their due. If they are not, then the relevant government agency should take up the necessary step to ensure that regulations are being complied with and revenues of federal government is not lost.
I mean, this also brought a concern about regulations of many government agencies because probably we've seen fears of many Nigerians in terms of failure. Like, for instance, what is happening in Borno State, people will tell you that NIMET had earlier warned, that there will be issues like this. There was already a prediction, but sometimes state do not respond, to the urgency of the threats. And looking at the recent tremor, panic in the Federal Capital Territory is also a warning sign that probably we are taking some things for granted in terms of understanding the environment we are and how responsible both the agencies of government and the people should be.
Starting from Borno, there is this controversy of whether that havoc was caused by natural disaster or by a human error. But the general consensus is that it is the human error of lack of maintenance for the dam that actually caused this. And yes, the relevant government agency will give their warnings. It is left for Nigerians to abide by the warning. But it is not enough to just give warnings. there should be some enforcement. If warnings are given, then there should be level of enforcement. If there is no enforcement, Nigerians are too preoccupied with what they will eat than to be listening to radio or to be listening to one federal government warning sign about. If you are giving me warning that I should park out of my house because of likely impending flood, what relief have you provided for me to go and look for alternative accommodation in faraway places? It will be difficult for such people to just wake up one morning and carry their wives and children and move out. So a lot of factors are militating against Nigerians. So when there are such warning, government should take it serious first by providing alternatives for people, not to just tell them that we have told you before. It doesn't work that way in this part of the world because of the circumstances we find ourselves.
Federal government, probably in recognition, President Tinubu, when he visited Borno State, said there will be a level of introduction of a hazard relief fund, where of being responsive to disaster. And we are concerned because already the environment is opposed with a whole lot of challenges. And those will tell you that probably what are the job of NEMA? What is NEMA doing in terms of management of situations? How do we have to create another, fund relief initiative? Which
as if NEMA doesn't have budget.
Absolutely. Concerned about that. Do you feel it's a misplaced priority or NEMA should be funded? I mean, there should be more funding to NEMA.
There should be more funding to NEMA. When we are asking for funding for public institutions, we should also be talking of accountability. What is the budget of NEMA for year 2024? How many natural disasters have they confronted this year? I think the only natural disaster that we have experienced this year is this flooding. Starting from this rain that started in July, June. It depends on which state one is from. I don't think NEMA has complained of lack of funding. And despite NEMA's funding or budgetary allocation, federal government also released how much billion to states, 3 billion per state, also for this. Then, as we always say, we should also not dump everything on the federal government. All of our 36 states too, they have their emergency agency that are supposed to be the first responders to issues like this. Why are we always holding federal government alone accountable? What about our state authorities, despite all the huge allocations they are having? So I have never seen or heard the management of NEMA complain about lack of fund. It is about, to me, it's about if what they need is more personnel to reach out to a lot of people that are involved, so be it. If they will be working in collaboration with state equivalent agencies, federal emergency agency working with the respective state agency, let it be so. But delay in response and misappropriation, when you hear billions are given to people, but you still see a lot of people in IDP camp going hungry, going homeless, and so on and so forth, it calls for concern. We should not only be emphasizing funding alone, we should also lay emphasis on accountability. Accountability involves let what is meant for the people affected get to them directly, not on the paper, not on the faces of news, on the TV, not on the pages of newspaper. Because
there are projection already, over 11 billion have so far been contributed, raised to tackle the issue of
images coming from Borno does not show people who have benefited from such huge amount of money. It also boils down to the issue of accountability. It's accountability. It's a very big problem in service delivery by public institutions in this country.
All right, going back to the FCT tremor, because you just was making an instances about some of these activities probably carried out within the area. How should government begin to combat the situation? Because that is just the one in Pape. We know that we are probably...
It affected Pape, Katampe, and part of Maitama from the report I read. That's serious.
The Maitama Hills that is very close to Pape axis.
That's just one side. Katampe and the Mpape.
That's just one side. We probably may not have some of this prediction on what is happening in Kubwa, Zuba, and all those areas that are linked to still the Federal Capital Territory.
The authority charged with that responsibility, if it affected other part of Abuja, we would have known. As I said, I live in Duse. we didn't experience anything.
But I'm saying the next one that probably occurred because there should be a move of intervention trying to see what they can do within themselves so that if it's natural, we know that it's a natural, but humans are irresponsibility.
The issue of earthquake, the issue of earth tremor is not what anybody can contain because it comes from the crust of the earth. It comes from the belly of the earth. It's the movement of magma and then the rock base. Yes. Rock-based frictions or rock-line frictions. So it is not what government can contain or prevent from happening. It is natural disaster if it wants to happen.
What are the activities of people within that region? Because looking at these threats now, it's about the activities of people.
Not stepping in the shoes of the geologist. I don't think the weight of people on the surface of Earth affects that much what goes in down. From my own understanding and what I've read about this issue, the depth of where this thing is coming from is beyond what we will say our surface activity will definitely be the cause. When it wants to happen, we forbid it in this country. We pray the universe it doesn't happen to us in this country because many countries are experiencing earthquake, they are experiencing a volcano and the rest. If it will happen, we can only talk of rescue. But I don't think government can contain it when it wants to happen. So the activities the government will put in place is just to be about the safety of people. It can never be for prevention. It can never be for prevention.
Now, those living within that environment, very close to the scene, are saying probably we want to probably leave the
It is recommended from the report I read.
Leave the regions and all of that.
It is recommended.
It's also a concern on what government should also do in assisting those ones at this time because it's also another way of a disaster.
I don't see government doing that as the volume of the experience we had has been downplayed to be very, very minimal. I don't think there is any reason for the government to evacuate people to talk of emergency as it is now. So I don't think they are putting such in place. What they told us is that we should just keep
and not be panicked.
And
that statement, do not be panicked, probably may also encourage people to stay back.
That's what I'm saying.
And it has effect. Look at what happened in Borno State. They said they were warning signs to people living within that region of the dam that they should evacuate from that place. But they felt that
the dam may overflow.
That it has been there for over 30 years. Probably they were not too scared of any event. So this statement is a two-way issue. It's a two-man statement.
We don't have such experience in Abuja. I pray so.
Because the accommodations and costs of accommodations and living is already tight on the people and the residents at the Federal Capital Territory. And of course, everyone, we must begin to track some of these developments and subsequent on our news bulletin. I'll bring that very close to you. Thanks so much to Mr. Ademola. He's a legal practitioner and the political analyst. Thanks so much for joining us on the program.
It's my pleasure.
On the Meet the Discourse. And
Thank
of course,
you so very much.
We'll wrap it up there on the Meet the Discourse. Subsequent on the bulletins, we'll bring more issues and highlight the developments in the state and the country at large. My name is Idika Michael, standing in for Samuel Odi. See you again.